Hello, welcome to Significant Brothers. I'm Cray,
I'm Brad.
I'm Chase.
and today we are talking about animals as tools. I chose this topic because I wanted to explore odd ways that animals serve us. There's obviously guide dogs and companion kittens that you can take with you on the airplane. But yeah, I just wanted to explore the weird ways that they serve us, the non-mainstream ways that we usually don't think about every day. So I personally chose the pigtail macaque in Thailand. If you ate a coconut product this year and it came from Thailand, there's a pretty good chance that the macaque picked it for you. And there's also a good chance that if you ate one in the past 400 years, that a pigtail macaque would have picked a coconut for you. They're extremely efficient workers. The male macaque can pick 1,600 a day, while the female can do 600. And any guess as to how many humans can pick in a day?
I was actually just about to ask that.
I have no idea.
Maybe half, 800.
It is 80 per day. With
Oh my word.
I know humans suck. With a greater risk of injury. That's
And you have to
coming-
pay them.
Yeah, and you have to pay them, and you have to give them this whole quote-unquote fair wages. So what they do to train these monkeys is they take them from the wild at a young age, and then they sort of harness them, and then basically make them like claw at a coconut. They sort of like have these little like artificial rigs and stuff to like make them desire to want to do this. Some people will do it through food. I'm assuming some do it through punishment, or some do it through hugging their monkey. There's
No.
Yeah, I know, it sounds adorable. So when they go up to pick it, they're on a harness. There's like a harness around their hips, I think. And they climb up there, and then they just start swatting them down. And they even like jump from other trees to other trees on the harness, and it's absolutely incredible.
What's the point of the harness?
The harness is to make sure they don't run away, and also to help guide them with your like voice commands, and maybe like a little tug as well.
Oh, so it's not like they're chained to a certain spot. A human's holding this harness.
Yeah, humans
So,
are
okay.
still there. Yeah, they don't get to. Sadly, they can't just like sit in their house and say, "Okay, Jimmy the monkey, go pick some coconuts for me today," because they have like certain inflections in their voice and certain like actions that they need to say to the monkey. Say like, "That coconut's not good. Don't do that one," or "Pick that coconut." The human equivalent is standing directly under a coconut tree with a big stick and hitting them, and multiple ones fall down. So it's a really big risk of injury. So it's like not only do they pick few coconuts, they also have coconuts directly falling on top of them.
I thought that I guess the harness thing, I thought it was like a rock climbing thing. So like if they fall, but then I was like,
Yeah, I
oh,
know.
that's silly. They're monkeys. They're not going to fall.
Yeah, monkeys don't fall. And I always remember hearing this statistic, something like 600 people a year die from coconuts. I'm always like, how could that happen? Like, how are so many people just standing under coconut trees? But
I
I'm
know, it
like,
seems like such a Flintstone thing to happen.
right? Like, it's like an anvil falling on you. Well, maybe not quite the same, but that makes a lot more sense if they were coconut farmers
As
that
I
were.
say, if you're in the industry, there's a chance. Yeah. Like how many times do you walk near a coconut tree?
I've probably walked near one 0 times in my entire life.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I've ever been by a coconut tree. But it's made certain animal groups question where they're getting their coconut oil from, because some vegan groups will say that their coconut oil is not actually vegan if it's being picked by a monkey. So, like, animalplace.org has a somewhat comprehensive list, although I don't think it's really comprehensive, of coconut products and who says they use monkeys and who say they don't use monkeys. Although monkey farmers find it hard to believe that someone wouldn't use monkeys in Thailand, because they say that almost no one, like everyone uses a monkey because it supports their livelihood. It's pretty much the difference between poverty and making a living is using a monkey to do it. And they're apparently treated pretty well, like they're family pets, they get fed, they hugged. There's probably cruelty somewhere, but I think the monkeys have a good deal. It's basically like, they're a human. They're getting paid through housing and board.
Well, it's like, how can you really say they're having a good deal? Like, is their life any better being a coconut farmer than it would be in the wild?
You know, I don't know. I guess, I mean, for animal organizations, they would argue it would be because that's the natural way to live. But it's hard to ask their opinions about it because they're monkeys. But, you know, I've done internships for less, so I think the monkeys should be grateful.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather have monkeys working, like being utilized in the workforce, than homeless monkeys on the side of the streets just getting addicted to alcohol and cigarettes.
Yeah, exactly. There's this Buddhist-inspired monkey training school that tries to teach these monkeys how to pick coconuts in a peaceful way. So this is quoted from one of I think the owner of the place. Every few trees, the monkey hugs his owner, who then checks the monkey for red ants, and the monkey gets a massage. So they sound like, you know, that would be the best way to get schooling for coconut training.
I think it's interesting that people are trying to argue that coconut oil isn't vegan because of that.
I know, especially since coconut oil seems to be the sort of staple vegan thing. Like, it seems very popular in the vegan crowd, and like the sort of, I don't know how to describe the crowd. Hipster.
I don't know. It's like, apparently, hipster. It's like, it's supposed to be like this wonder substance right now. It's like people are like, oh, you can use it in your hair, or you use it for cooking, or it's a great lubricant.
Yeah, it's apparently super good for you, and they love it, but apparently it might not be vegan, so...
Well,
I mean, I understand why they'd say it's not vegan. That's not, like...
Oh, totally.
yeah, no, I get it. I just never would have put those two together, mainly because veganism isn't like a concern of mine at all.
But yeah, if you're eating a coconut right now, thank that monkey from across the pond. So, Brad, what animal did you choose?
No, I chose war elephants, because that just seemed really... It's always interesting when, like, the smaller takes over the bigger. Because, like, oh yeah, it totally makes sense that we would domesticate wolves and dogs, and that kind of thing. But when you domesticate something that's so much bigger, but I wouldn't even say that we domesticated elephants. I guess elephants were tamed because it was easier than domesticating them. And elephants, they're kind of an intimidation tactic. They were kind of the tank of the war. They could charge, used for transport, but you couldn't really fight on top of an elephant like you could for horses. And what?
Would it basically just, like, run into structures, or would it stomp on you?
It could
Gore you with
stomp.
its tusks?
Kind of. They could reach up to like 30 to 40 miles per hour. That's kind of really a hard thing to stop because they weigh so much.
I would like to imagine, like, this war elephant running like 30 miles an hour with a man through its tusks while it's strangling someone with his trunk and just smashing through buildings. That's the picture I'm getting from these war elephants.
Well, they have some old... if you go on Wikipedia, they have some old pictures kind of like that, except it's more like one's being strangled by an elephant with the tusk. There's not anyone impaled on the tusks. Because it's mostly the Asian elephant that was used for war, not the African elephant.
Is there a reason for that? Was it easier to tame?
Yeah, I think it was they were easier to tame. They're a little bit smaller, more accessible. But elephants kind of fell from grace out in the China region, between 850 BC and 500 because of deforestation and humans and typical human stuff.
We rock.
Yeah, we're so good at like ruining things. And also making things great. Like America again.
Good plug.
We don't have a ton on India really for using elephants, other than we know they were used because they're in a lot of their old songs and hymns. But then Alexander the Great, he saw them in a war. He was like, oh my gosh, those elephants are huge and intimidating. I am also going to use huge and intimidating elephants. And so he was able to capture around like 15 elephants, and he used them in the Battle of Gaugamela.
Brad, where is that?
It's in the Persia region. Like but it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more west. It was more of a European battle.
I mean, what would be the equivalent, like, country? Because Persia is not a country.
Oh, it's out towards Syria and Mesopotamia.
Okay.
I think
Another.
let's find that country with another country that doesn't exist.
like 300 miles north of where Babylon was.
Gosh, Brad. A little bit east of Czechoslovakia.
It doesn't matter where it was.
I guess not. Well, I'm curious though. So you said he got the elephants from where? The same area?
Yeah, like back when Asian elephants were a little bit more populous. Because he just saw them. He saw them in battle from there, and he's like, I'm going to use these elephants. At first, and then he used them in the Battle of Gaugamela. He used about 15 elephants, and he used them in the center line. And then later on, he had been known to deploy up to like 85 to 100 war elephants. And so instead, like in the original battles, he would line them up at about like in the center line. But then Alexander was kind of known more for his stealth tactics, and elephants, they aren't very stealthy. Not because they can't be hidden, but because they're just quite large. It's like, you know, the old joke, like...
So it sounds like it's because it can't be hidden.
Well, he would separate them out, like, quite a
Okay.
bit, so they couldn't, like... I don't want to say talk to each other, but so they couldn't talk to each other.
Is it because some of them could fly like Dumbo? So
I was just about to bring that up, actually.
that would be terrifying.
That would be the most...
The instant that you get that, you're gonna win most of the wars.
You just get bludgeoned by an elephant swooping out of the air.
Goring you with his tusks.
Well, it's like, you know, the old jokes, like, you know, they can be stealthy because how do elephants hide in cherry trees? They paint their toenails red.
Wait, I've never heard that before.
You haven't?
No.
Oh,
Well, now you heard one more.
Now
dumb
you heard
joke.
it. Anyways, as he moved further east, this is beyond the Mesopotamia region, he saw kings that could use up to 6,000 war elephants.
What?
And yeah, it almost sounds, it's like, okay, was this really real, or is this kind of like someone was trying to make it sound how great Alexander was, since like he overcame 6,000 war elephants? Because that just seems like crazy, like how you could have that many elephants under control.
Well, especially if you didn't breed them, like you had to go out and tame 6,000 wild elephants, and not like that sounds improbable, but I guess also probably likely because it happened.
Have you heard of when Hannibal marched elephants over the Alps to fight the Romans?
Yes.
That was during the Second Punic War. And so, the Romans had some fighting experience against elephants before when they were fighting the Egyptians for whatever reason. So they had some anti-elephant capabilities. So they kind of knew what they were getting into. But the Romans were able to deploy things like flaming pigs and spikes. Not like road spikes, but they had like wagons with spikes that could bludgeon the elephants when they were passing by. But mostly it was the flaming pigs and other things that would scare the elephants away. The Romans ended up winning that war against Hannibal, even though you should almost stop because you respect Hannibal so much for bringing elephants over the Alps. But then the Romans kept the elephants for a while, and they used them in their own war. Anyways, but those were basically the glory days of elephants. Later on, they became being used less and less because our technology got better and better, and the elephants really didn't evolve further to be used for war capabilities. So then they got more used for transport, and archers could sit on them, and they'd have a greater view.
I feel like when you say glory days for elephants, you mean like glory days for humans using elephants for warfare. It was terrible to be an elephant.
I guess the elephants didn't really sit around the fireside like, you guys remember when we used to be awesome?
They'd sit around the flaming pig talking about it.
But now we don't really use elephants as intimidation tactics anymore, and now we use good old-fashioned tanks, and we're deciding to take the animal element out of war, and now it's just human. It's mano y mano, so no more elephants.
So, James, what animal did you choose?
You know what? The first time that I had ever heard about elephants being used as warfare was back when I used to play a game called, Brad?
Age of Empires 2.
Yep. And
Why don't you ask me? I played that game.
I don't know. All right, well, you can answer my other question after this.
Okay.
Because you're a big Age of Empires nut, apparently. I thought I always liked to play as the Persians because they had the elephants that they used as the tanks, essentially. But do you know what every single nation had to have in Age of Empires before they got to move up? Is they had to have a mill. And do you know what was inside of the mill, Cray?
An elephant.
Nope. They were used as the tanks, like I just said.
Was it a specific breed of dog?
Close. It was a donkey. Because it was the mill was it had a gin gang, which was the a thing that just spun around in circles, much like the wheels that spin around inside of a windmill. If you want to listen to an episode about a windmill, that's what we previously did. Good plug, right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the gin gang, there was a donkey. It crushed me. He's the unsung hero of Age of Empires. The donkey would walk around in circles tirelessly inside of the mill. So that being said, the animals have been used to walk around in circles for a long time. Another animal engine that was so common was a turnspit dog. This dog was a specific breed of dog. It wasn't just any old dog. The turnspit dog sounds so generic, like it could have been any dog. But it wasn't. It was just one dog. It was a very ugly dog that had it had like stumpy legs, and it kind of looked like the Welsh Corgi, but uglier and not adorable.
So it was one specific breed?
It was a specific breed, and the reason you haven't heard about it now is because they're gone, because we don't use turnspit dogs anymore. But the dog was essentially a workhorse, for lack of a better word. The only thing it knew was to walk around in circles. I'm sure they were loved, but, evidently not enough because they're not around anymore. The name of the dog, like, they were identified by the name of their job, or just like the common name given to them, and they remind me of like someone in a large community. No one knows his name, but they know that he's the guy who collects tickets at the train station. They're just like, oh, it's Ticket John. It would just seem wrong to become friends with the dog and like it if it was also turning a wheel. But it's also kind of like another sort of workhorse dog that we see is one that was a slave to us. It still is now, the Shiba Inu, because it makes so many of our memes. You guys might be familiar with the Shiba Inu as the dog that was known as
Doge?
Doge.
Yeah,
Yep.
Doge. And Doge has its own currency. I doubt Doge sees a cent of that. Tirelessly making memes for us, making us laugh, and having a Dogecoin currency, doesn't see any of it, just like the turnspit dog. They're so... I think I got into this with the name, but they're so far removed from everyone's memory because they were just a utility like anything else. Like if I it's like an antiquated item, sort of like a boot scratcher. Nobody uses them. We still see them nowadays, and we have little fond memories of them. In this case, we have little web pages that are dedicated to the turnspit dog, but we don't know much about them. But we do know, we do have a few. There were a few books that were written, and they mention accounts of the turnspit dog, and they were mostly known for walking around in circles, but also sometimes people would bring them to church and use them as foot warmers. You bring your dog, and the cold hearth floor was brutal, so your dog would sit on the ground and warm your feet.
That poor thing.
I know. But what's even funnier is the dog was so motivated to work that there was an account one time that the bishop or the priest in the church had said a word that signaled the dogs to like work. Like he said like run or walk or something, and then all the dogs got up from the church and ran to the door because they were like, "Oh, I gotta walk around in circles." That's how I think the unsung hero for so long. But the reason I haven't even gotten into why they walked around in circles. They mostly worked in butcher shops because they would turn the meat, and if you had a big hunk of meat, that would have to be turned for like hours at a time. So they didn't want to, they're like a rotisserie style essentially.
Oh, okay. Their name makes a lot more sense now. Turnspit.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah. So they had a I guess I sort of described them, but they had short stubby legs, and they had a coat similar to a dog from Denmark. Any guesses?
Nope, I am not familiar
a Great Danish dog.
Great Dane.
A Great Dane,
with
yeah.
Great Dane. Wow.
But it turns
that
out
makes
actually,
so much more sense.
yeah. But actually, I think it turns out that they're from Germany, not Denmark, which
Great
just
Danes?
ruins it. Yeah.
It's kind of like how the French horn isn't French and the English horn is not English.
So, eventually, once we found a way to do things more efficiently, we stopped breeding those dogs because the only thing that they were good for was not for companionship or love, but for spinning meat. So it was just one more step into the infrastructure of modernity.
Hello, thanks for listening, everybody. You can sign up for our newsletter on tinyletter.com/significantbrothers or email us at sigbrotherspod@gmail.com.
You can also find us on Podbean and iTunes. Just search Significant Brothers.
We just hired a monkey for our Twitter account, so you can tweet us at Significant Bros.
Thanks for listening, everybody.